Live, gents. Welcome once again, ladies and gents, to about the 30th rendition of Up and About podcast. I'm Nathan Barnier joining you. We've got Nico and Shane. Welcome, boys, once again. Nick will bring you in, mate. It's been a hell of a ride, brother. So a lot happening, mate. How's your week been?
Well, I have stolen someone's thunder this evening, Nathan. Our great co-host Shane usually brings the colour and fanfare and banter. Tonight I'm bringing it because, wow, of anyone who's ever been to a movie world, there's the Police Academy show. There's a guy called Rodney who sits in the crowd, and Rodney's from Tasmania, and he's wearing a wild shirt, and it's so set up it's not funny. And October 24. You'll have one of the biggest setups of all time, the AFL Grand Finals at the Gabba. I cannot believe it. Shane, hello.
Hello, how are you, Nick? G'day, Nathan. Yes, look, there's going to be a lot of Rodneys floating around our great state for the forthcoming couple of weeks. I'm interested to know, we will find out in the forthcoming days, I would imagine, just around how much the Queensland government paid the AFL. And obviously the front page news is going to be, how much did we pay? How much for the economy? How much for health? I can see it. It's coming. But anyway, the spring. It's lively. It's 20 degrees. It's beautiful, and it's going to be a pretty exciting countdown in Brisbane town.
Second day of spring, Shano. We go in heat. But yeah, mate, you said it. We're at the Gabba, mate. Who would have thought? Nico, let's bring you in first. We've got a fan question here. Let me just read it out for you. From one Ryan Keogh. Ryan Keogh, I won't go into the expletives, but paraphrase, summarise, suck that, Nicky J, the Gabba's got the grand final. So I'll take that as a statement, but is there a right of reply? Or I guess feel free to use this platform to, voice your take on the situation. I guess I might just put on a loaded question for you, mate. South Australia, they feel a little hard done by. And then you got some flog from Western Australia that's carrying like a bloody pork chop. But he's claiming that AFL looks to screw Western Australia over as much as possible. So a lot of commentary around it, mate. Will you be going?
Well, it's hard enough to get a grand final ticket when you've got 90,000 seats. When you've got 30,000 seats, it's going to be awfully difficult. I guess the good thing is we are aware of a lot of job losses at the AFL. So usually there's 30,000 seats that go to AFL employees. So there's definitely going to be more opportunity in that space. Corporates, who knows how the corporate's going to go. But thank you, Ryan. Was it Ryan now?
Ryan, yes.
Ryan Keogh. Good on you, Ryan. And I'm happy that you've taken some displeasure in some excitement in my displeasure towards it being at the Gabba. Anyone in their right mind, and I think Shane said on a previous edition, if I can quote you, Shane, that the AFL would prefer to play at the MCG in front of 3,000 seagulls than play at the Gabba. Now, I think it's a fantastic statement, Shane. They've opted not to because I think Melbourne have come in with, or they were looking at a late bid. I think they missed it by 2 weeks. But we still have active cases of coronavirus in Queensland, and it's starting to build a little bit. So I'm a little bit confused as to why. I mean, they did name Adelaide Oval as an emergency. I'm not going to be the newsbreaker here, but don't get too excited, Queensland. South Australia, the Adelaide Oval, magnificent stadium. It is just sitting there. But perhaps, and Nathan, I'll throw it straight back to you, is the fear that Port Adelaide, being in the position they're in at the moment, was that something that perhaps the AFL officials took into consideration? Do you think that Port Adelaide, being so dominant, getting a home grand final, you may as well engrave the cup now?
No, mate. There's no one outside of Port Adelaide that think that Port Adelaide are going to make the grand final, let alone win it. So that definitely comes into play. Brisbane Lions, look, they've got a lot of improvement left in them. Straight kicking is, we've said it a million times, all the talent in the world. They've got a real genuine chance here to build their own dynasty, I guess, and step out of the shadows of former champions. But it's interesting. So Western Australia, look, if you're going to use just the corona situation as, the main kind of factor, then Western Australia comes into play. I think it's more a case that when West Coast make the grand final, when they hear it's held at Optus Stadium, then you'd engrave the cup now, because they got spiders and no one touches them at Optus Stadium. That's probably why Western Australia didn't win the gig there. But Shane, mate, we'll bring you in. I'll start with this. Port Adelaide, mate. Are you confident in them? How deep into the finals do you think Port Adelaide will go?
Oh, look, I think they'll play a preliminary final at home. I would imagine. Have they announced that the entire finals campaign is going to be up here?
No. South Australia have a premier which is just not quite as narcissistic as Western Australia. So I think that there's an opportunity for obviously not Adelaide, because they just registered their first win last night, but for Port Adelaide to play at home.
Yep.
For even a preliminary final they can play.
Yep.
The issue. So to just be serious for a second, the issue with Western Australia was the Premier was not making any exceptions for people being in the AFL community. And I could probably add something to that. I've just had some breaking news, had some spies on the Gold Coast. Is everyone aware that the AFL players are actually roaming the Gold Coast? Like they're at the beach with your regular citizen. Is everyone aware of that? Like I thought that they were they were in the hub as such. It's a crock. The hub is a crock, because I've got photographic evidence of AFL footballers at a fish and chip shop and at Tallabudgera Creek today from the Geelong Football Club and Richmond Football Club.
Are they frequenting any certain establishments that we have once attended in our lives, Nicholas? At any of those lovely places?
No, I was never a big Gold Coast fan. The times I spent time at the Gold Coast was often in a townhouse at Gilston. But I wasn't a big Gold Coast fan. Nathan, get us back on track.
That sounds like a fun house, that one. But you got photo evidence on you right now, mate? We are live to the world.
This is interactive.
Well, it would incriminate my source if I was to do that. And as all good journos, they never disclose their
Tom
source.
Brown and Nicholas Aldridge.
Tom Brown, Shane, please. Isn't Tommy's? Yeah, he's going well. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited about someone we're going to be talking to soon, fellas, who's might give us a bit more insight into real lockdown, because we haven't experienced lockdown in Queensland. We experienced a level where we had some restrictions. There's still some restrictions in our life, but we haven't experienced what's going on down in Victoria. So it'd be great to chat with him and get some insight into what that's like. But I just thought that was an interesting one to throw out there, that I was thinking that the clubs were just in and out of, quickly being ushered through, and masks and buses and things. But to see what I saw today, players mingling. And if you think about it, Gold Coast and Ipswich are pretty close. And that's, Ipswich is where it's all picking up. For those viewers who are unaware of location, Ipswich is probably an hour northwest of the Gold Coast. And that's where our cases are picking up. But our cases picking up are in the single figures. They're not like Victoria, where it's a couple of hundred every day. So anywho, we got very serious there. Sorry.
We did. And look, you bang on, Shane. I'll jump across you in a moment, mate. You can introduce the young gentleman. But look, these are, I'm going to have to say, these are unprecedented times.
Good.
There it is. There it is.
9 minutes. Yep, not bad.
Thank you. But look, Nick, you've touched on it. My missus had to do a couple of weeks quarantine when she got here from overseas, and she's looking like she had to do another couple of weeks for different reasons. So it's even just for that amount of time, it's a very, 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 very stressful situation. So to have that as part of your genuine routine, it's I don't envy anyone going through that. So Melbourne, I spoke to a few people on Instagram over the week, and I can speak for both the boys here. Look, we our hearts go out to you, our thoughts and prayers go out to you. Not too religious, but there you go. But look, we are thinking of you. So hang in there, because I appreciate. It must be a hell of a thing to go through. So Shane, mate, let's throw to yourself. I think there's no better person than you to introduce our next guest.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. And it's something we've talked about for most of the season, how we're dealing with COVID in our own ways, but we've always been representing or talking about those those people who are doing it very tough down there in our Victorian cousins. So I guess, without any further ado, the great Chris Payne is a very close relative of mine, my cousin. He's a great man. And Payne, you there, mate?
Shane, I am. Thanks for having me.
A long-term fan. I know you've only come on board in the last 2 weeks, but you've binge-watched all our episodes. So
there's no shortage of time down here, so I really had no excuses.
Very good, mate. Well, introduce yourself. You've got a couple of minutes to talk about yourself, talk about what you're up to at the moment, where you've been over the past couple of months, and how you're keeping yourself sane.
Mate, I'm a pretty interesting guy, so I don't know if a couple of minutes will cut it. Might need an hour or so, but
hey, come on. That's too much comedy, mate.
No, you're right. Sorry about that. No, you're right. Yeah, I'm ex-champion full forward from Diggers Rest. Hold the club record for the most goals at club. Been past president, vice president, just a good, genuine supporter of a local footy club. Pilot by trade, and just a poor recipient of a stage 4 lockdown. But that's just the times these days, and not working too much at the moment. So very happy to be here, and got plenty of time on my hands.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for joining us, mate.
No worries, Nath.
I guess first and foremost, can you just run it through, first of all, what it's been like, and maybe just take us back to the start, as far as it was obviously a shock to everyone. What was it like first hand, I guess, when everything was first rolled out? Was it a little bit of a surprise? Did you think perhaps it was all just a bit of rumblings that would quickly subside and life would perhaps go back to some degree of normality? Talk us through that one, mate.
Yeah, so I guess once everyone sort of hit pretty hard all around the country, stage 3 pretty much everywhere, all under control. And unfortunately, we had a good breakout through our hotel quarantine where we thought that, some private security might get the job done. But a lot of these people don't realise that private security was also working at 7-Eleven. They were driving Ubers, and it just got, all out of hand. So, as everyone knows, we had a pretty big blowout, and we've gone from stage 2 to within 3 weeks, stage 4, complete lockdown, curfew between 8 and 5 a.m. So it's been pretty hard. If you've got an active mind, you can keep going, but there's certainly a lot of people out there with really struggling mentally. So there's plenty of support out there, and they keep pumping a lot of money into the mental health side of things. But when you're stuck at home, every single day, there's only a couple of reasons you can go outside. You're only allowed to be outside once for the whole day and only for an hour maximum. So whether that's going out for a walk or you head out to the shopping centre. So I guess there's one relief, though, if you've got yourself an intimate partner or a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever you're allowed to call them these days, LGBTI, with all our friends out there. It's probably the only excuse to leave your 5 kilometre zone too. So, which is another pretty hard thing to take. So sort of fortunate where I am that I've got a couple of shopping centres I can head down to, but there's plenty of people out there where they're stuck to one sort of doctor, one shop. So life can be pretty tough for them.
Chris, good on you, mate. Thanks for joining us. It's great to have you in this forum. I think you're going
thanks, Nico.
You're going to add a lot to episode 3 or 4 or 13, whatever it might be, mate. Just you touched there on being involved at your local footy club. Not sure what your involvement is now, but obviously that's a massive thing, and we've been pretty fortunate up here as far as community footy continuing. Just give us an insight into what the footy club's doing. As I said, I'm not sure if you're directly involved still, but you'd still be obviously aware of the lads down there. What's the footy club doing as far as how they're keeping the boys engaged and the girls, obviously, with the netball club attached? What's the club doing in that space?
There's not too much they can do. There's been a lot of phone calls. The coaches are pretty active, speaking to players. We've got a great committee down there at the club. So they've been constantly in contact with everyone. But in saying that, outside of the executive of the club, there's not much really anyone can do. So the plan was to kick off the season on July 25. We had the second outbreak that put a stop to all of that. There is a lot going on. We're already planning for 2021, which would be good. There's been big cuts to salary caps. We're still waiting on the player points to come out. So there's still a lot happening behind the scenes, but in terms of keeping clubs alive, that's going to be a big struggle for a lot of the poorer clubs too, because they don't have the support coming in through sponsorships. All the people that sponsor are doing financially hard as well. So, but good news for our club today. They got $2.5 million off the Victorian government to rebuild their social facilities. And
Wow.
so it's been a quite good day for our football club today. Football netball club, I should say.
We won't hear any negativity from you regarding Daniel Andrews' tenure then?
He's
Don't talk about the
doing...
government, Haney.
No, it's two very different things, but our local minister's done a great job. So we've got the money. It's been in the pipeworks ever since I was president 6-7 years ago. So very happy to hear that for the club and very happy for him.
Fantastic.
Just talk us through how you're feeling at the moment, mate, with everything. Obviously, you've been through a little bit of a journey yourself. You touched on mental health and I guess how important that is. As you mentioned, there are a number of supportive networks available, which we might highlight a little bit later. But I think we're in a good point in time as far as Australian men. The idea of yesteryear's toxic masculinity. Masculinity, can phrase that how you like, but I think a lot of work has been put in to remove the stigma around men's mental health specifically. But obviously, not taking anything away from the women, it's just as hard for them, obviously. So talk us through your journey, mate, and how you're feeling at the moment.
Very happy at the moment, to be honest. And that just comes down to, I didn't have the greatest of years last year and sort of sought some help. And it's just amazing, the stigma of keeping quiet, things will go away. Sort of just suck it up sort of attitude. It just doesn't work. Unfortunately, that was sort of the way we were brought up in the 80s and 90s. But now, there's a lot of guys out there who are struggling. And the one thing I'd say is just, make a phone call. It helps everything, even to talk about rubbish, just to get stuff off your chest. So it's helped me. My work has dried right up, so I didn't fly from March till probably July. No, you're losing all your income. You've got mortgages, car loans. You got lots of things happening in your life. Plus, you got children. I've got a child as well. So it was a bit of a mental battle, but again, it just comes down to talking to your mates. You don't even have to go up and talk to a doctor. You just ring your mate and ask for a beer. They come over, have a chat. Unfortunately, that can't happen now, but there's always a phone. So that's probably the hardest thing for a lot of guys down in Victoria, is they're not just have the courage to get on that phone and make a phone call and just ask for a bit of help. And it's probably once you do that, you'll find it gets easier and easier.
Is there any, mate? Is there any talk or narrative around, next steps forward? Obviously, the numbers are just starting to fade out a little bit, showing some real positive signs there. Go on, mate.
Yeah. Sorry, no, absolutely. There has been. So Sunday, the government will come out and release some sort of plan, or the chief health officer will be. So it'll be sort of a plan to start easing restrictions. On the 13th is when stage 4 is supposed to end, but we'll find out a lot more on Sunday. So as we all 4 of us know, October 24th is now the only day that we're looking forward to. So, and you guys are lucky enough to have the grand final up there. We want that to be as easy as possible. And you've got a lot of people out there who are wanting to strike or not strike, get out there and protest, but let's do the right things, because we want to be able to go to the pub and have a beer and watch the grand final with all our mates. So, hopefully Sunday is going to be the day that we'll find out a lot more.
And give us an insight into that, Chris. I know it would be difficult just communicating via the phone and probably this sort of forum, but Melbourne not having the grand final, and, I haven't lived in the Great Land since 94, but I'm a parochial Victorian, despite the fact I'm wearing a 4X Push-Up Boys shirt at the moment. As a Victorian, how does it sit with you, knowing that the grand final won't be at the MCG? Your thoughts on, does it devalue the premiership? What's the general feel down there since I mean, you say 12 hours old or 6 hours old?
Yeah, so it's a very good question, Nick. Hard to say. Like, I'm an MCC member, so I sort of laugh at people whinging about not getting grand final tickets because I'll just rock up at 11 o'clock and be ready for the midday beers and not have to worry about it. But
you had a whole sympathetic audience before that painting.
Yeah.
Now, no,
They're
all gone.
The viewership's just headed off. Thanks for that.
Yeah. No, it is an interesting one because it is the home of football. It's like taking the Pope out of the Vatican City, I guess, and moving him to Abu Dhabi. It's probably just not right. But anyway, they couldn't have picked probably weather-wise a better place, but I could certainly think of a few better stadiums that we could be hosting our national day, so to speak, national grand final.
Yeah, it still blows my mind. I think you've heard my thoughts on it. I don't understand how Adelaide haven't got it. There's no corona cases there. So
I actually, I flew the Premiership Cups up last night to the Gold Coast. So
that's the elephant. That's the elephant in the podcast at the moment, Chris. So
yes.
Just if we can prod into that space, can you just give our listeners a bit of background as to the vibe, the feel, who was sitting where? Can you give us any behind the scenes? Did the Premiership Cup sit in 1A? Was it undercarriage? What's the story?
I can't divulge too much about who was and who wasn't on board. I won't confirm or deny that Gillen might have been there. He might not have been. I think he was the last person, according to the Herald Sun, to check in yesterday for the 5 o'clock flight.
His hair was definitely there. It's unbelievable.
Yes,
wow.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and all our favourite mates of Steve-O and Purple, they were all there with their cameras.
Oh, God.
Asking the tough questions. So, there was the full big wigs, and I think it was pretty obvious. Let's be honest. Like, the poor old Metricon Stadium's copped a hammering. That looks like Colonial Stadium back in 2001, just full of sand and crap.
Well, it looks like Main Beach, doesn't it? It looks like
it certainly does. Yeah.
The players are going to run out next week the surfboards because it is just it's had enough. But the Gabba, have you noticed? The Gabba looks a little bit like Warnie's hair when he comes back from a period of time having not been on the screen. It is looking magnificent.
Just flush,
It's
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the AFL put something into that. What's your thoughts? I reckon the AFL must have. They've known for a while that the Gabba's going to be the place because I've never seen the Gabba look better.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, like McLaughlin said today, that Perth pretty much were never really in the hunt, no matter how much money they offered, just due to the teams would have to have a 7-day hard lockdown. So when you've got a side preparing for the biggest day of the year, it's just not acceptable that, these guys sort of flex their muscles. And,
I actually had the misfortune last night of heading to the Gabba and watching your boys painting. You can get onto the Dons if you like in a minute, but there was frantic renovation work. There's all these little 5G satellite dishes being installed around the place. There's retiling of the toilets that were installed back in 1963. They're going to polish this turd and they're going to make it look quite okay, quite reasonable in 8 weeks' time.
If you look at the meaning of mediocrity in the Oxford Dictionary, you just got to head down to the hangar down in Tullamarine because it is just a genuine basket case now. Like ever since Hurdy left from about 15 onwards, it's just the same crap every year. Potential's there. Started pretty well this year. Injuries, it's just crap. It's all the soft tissue. They're changing systems. We've now got a handover of coaching. They're now playing a very different style to what they were last year. It was fast and exciting this year.
All right.
Yes.
Hey, Nathan, it's good to hear someone talk passionately about their football club in a negative manner, isn't it?
That's fantastic. Mate, last couple of questions for you, brother. One very important one. Joey Danaher, mate, staying, going? If so, where?
Staying. And if he does go, it won't be Sydney.
Oh, okay. There you go.
You heard it firsthand.
I like it. And finally, mate, who you got taken out the big day?
Good question, Nathan. I reckon Brisbane will finish on top. I reckon Port will fade out. I just can't see Port. They just don't have that that sort of it's sort of hard to explain and keep it sensible at the same time. They just haven't got that grunt. But West Coast are just steaming along nicely at the moment. And once Big Kennedy comes back, and I think they're going to be a force to reckon with.
Yeah, fair enough. Mark that spot. West Coast, maybe. Brisbane Lions, no. But, mate, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us. It's been extremely insightful, and thank you very much for sharing what you've shared. And as I said, all you ladies and gents down in Melbourne, we're all thinking of you. So, so hang tight, guys.
Big fat. Good on you, Painey. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, mate.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, Shane. Have a great
mate.
night.
Good to see you.
Mate.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, legend. All right.
Full disclosure there, Nathan. Chris is a giant of community football in Victoria, and he's a giant personality. And it's difficult to have heard the flat spots he's hit. And I guess it's those big personalities that you don't often expect to be doing it very tough, but a giant of community football down in Victoria. And also disclosure, in 2018 he was a great assistance to me in getting down to watch the grand final, and still don't know who won that game, Nathan. I just we were in front with a couple of minutes to go, Collingwood, and then next thing I was back in my hotel room, so it was a whirlwind experience, but fantastic to have Painey on tonight.
It was. And speaking of whirlwind experiences, we've got one October 24, obviously there, gents. 7 p.m. Start, which is interesting. I'm not really a fan of that. But anyway, Shano, mate, we've got another little few questions from yourself, I believe.
Yeah,
Kick us off, brother.
This might become a bit of a theme. I'll be getting a little bit tight on some comedic material between now and October 24, when Adelaide finally takes the gig. But anyway, so what we're talking about, this is the lead up to the AFL Grand Final, October 24. We're all excited for it. And this here is a bit more of a focused Queensland effort on our Grand Final, how we deliver it, who's involved, what it tastes like. It's going to be fun. So, Nathan, Nick, a bit of engagement here, and see if you can enjoy yourself. So initially, I'll start with a bit of a statement to our loyal leader, Ms. Paliachuk. We are going to steal the public holiday off Melbourne, of course. So
Amen.
Friday, you would have to suggest is going to be a public holiday in Brisbane. So
Oh, yeah.
let's just make that a given. We can just lock that down now. That's good. Okay, gents. So we've got the grand final parade. I'm presuming it's going to start somewhere at the bottom of the mall and then end at the top of the mall, and maybe end up in Casino Square or Brisbane Square, whatever they want to call it, in front of that chap with the dreadlocks who plays the late when you come out at 4 a.m.
What does he play?
That little reggae beats.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you now. Yeah.
All right, so the teams come down probably in horse and carriage or something like that, and there is going to be a Queensland sporting or movie or just political celebrity at the end who is going to allow both captains to hoist the cup for all the photographers. Who will be that Queensland identity who is going to hoist the cup with the two bidding captains?
Oh. Nathan, I want to go. You, Nathan.
So what's the score here? Do we think it's going to be AFL affiliated or?
No, mate. No, it's just someone important to Brisbane or Queensland. This is their first sign about who they can roll out from a famous Queenslander. Sport, theatrical, creative arts, doesn't really matter. Music.
I'll give you a chop out, Nathan. I'll go first.
Go.
The Irwin family. Let's be honest here. The Queensland government have definitely put some dollars in behind this, because it doesn't make sense, the border bubble, New South Wales situation, and then allowing all these corporates to fly up here and be a part of the next sort of 6-week period or 8 weeks, whatever it may be. So I've got the Irwin family. Besides Scott Pendlebury, with his right hand on the cup, and the left hand will be Trent Cotchin.
Okay, well, you're off your head with that one. But I do like the Irwin family suggestion. If it's, excuse my ignorance here, but Michael Voss, Queensland or Vic?
Well, he's a Victorian that Queensland claim. It's a bit like Russell Crowe being Australian.
I wouldn't claim Russell Crowe. Neil Finn, I would claim.
Yeah, the whole of Crowded House, Australian, full stop.
Yeah, well done. Australasian music is
Yes.
lovely. You put it last week, brother. But yeah, I would go. I'd go Michael Voss. I
Three-time
think.
Premiership captain.
Yeah,
Yep. No,
it's a bit hard to go past.
Yep. No, I totally agree. All right. Now we're on the GC. Our understanding is that either the Sunday or the Monday preceding the grand final is where the Brownlow is going to be held down at a glitzy Gold Coast Convention and Exhibition Centre.
Mm.
It's a what a place. Who was
Great kebab shop. Just opposite the street in the corner.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Great place. A Queensland celebrity. We're not talking about our standard. We're not talking about McAvaney or the future Perth Mayor. Who is going to host the Brownlow?
Yeah, this one's an easy. It's a given. You got to think who's a talented Queenslander who already hosting an event or a show that's pumped up and overrated. I can see our host now, Sophie Monk.
Oh,
Imagine that. Imagine Soph just guiding us. She could do the pre-show. She could do the red carpet. Cost cutting. She's doing the pre-show, doing the glitz and glam on the red carpet, and then she's up there introducing the AFL Commission, all the official votes coming. I think she'd do a stellar job. Sophie Monk.
Fantastic. Yep.
Yeah.
Are there any? I'm sure there are. I'm just not across it. Are there any wags, as the colloquial term is? Any players, partners who are looking to try and get a little entry into media at the moment?
Nathan, is that a loaded question?
Most are.
Yeah, I was going to say 99% of them are. They're all interior decorators, designers, fashion experts, beauty experts. Yeah.
Do any of them have genuine talent in front of the camera?
Oh,
As he's holding the camera.
okay, stop asking loaded questions, Nathan.
All right.
Pass,
We'll move
pass.
on. But I can't wait.
Sorry.
Sorry.
So Nathan's answer's a wag, is it?
It's a wag. All right. I'll
Okay.
answer that. And I can't wait for Armagard to be replaced by possibly a Hells Angels or one of those renewed bikie gangs on the Gold Coast.
I love it. Just a quick one, Shane.
Yep.
Just a very, very quick one from our fans. Jody's jumped in, bless her. What are our thoughts on Pauline Hanson hosting it?
She gets a run shortly. We'll hold out. She's one of our options. There's a bit of a multi-choice coming up shortly. So,
Jody's jumped the gun.
all right. So, in one of the lead-up events, the great Queensland anthem that was originally came out of the mouth of the great Billy Moore. Who would you put behind the microphone to lead the great Queensland anthem of Queensland?
Yeah, I'll captain the team again, Nathan, and I'll go for someone who's not a Queenslander. They've captained Victoria, but you've got to think similar in the Nuffy mould as Billy Moore be Jonathan Brown.
Yeah, big Jono. Big fan, big Jono. Get him around it.
I love him. I love him too, and he'd also then he'd lead the march to having a pot palmer and a punt somewhere straight after the game.
You know what I love about Brownie? I catch him on the couch every now and then. He's just straight to the point. A lot of blokes will try and talk around an issue and try and bamboozle him. He's just no frills, cut the bullshit. You're wrong because of this. That's it. Move on.
I reckon Gary pokes the bear. I like that relationship. Like it works quite well because Gary will just say something and then Brownie gets all pumped up and then Gary tries to say, just settle down, big fella. I like that how that relationship works. It's brought a different edge to the last co-host that Gary Lyon had. He ended up buffing his wife. So just a different edge.
Yep. Right. Yep.
Moving on.
All right. So I've got a bit of a select group here of politicians. Thanks, Jody. You've certainly taken one of my options here. But my expectation is that Queensland has been based on grubby and corrupt politicians over their entire period of being in existence. So I'm going to say that one of our politicians is going to, or recently departed politicians, is going to hand the cup to the winning captain at the duration of the game. Now, I've got a couple of options here. So we've got George Big Filipino Christensen. I'm not too Big George likes a little bit of a journey over to our Southeast Asian nation.
Yeah.
Bob Cowboy Cutter. So we've got Bob up there with the cowboy hat on. We've got Pauline, the rampant redneck redhead Hanson, and we've got Clive and McGowan and NWA Palmer. You might need a travelator to get to the top of the 3 or 4 steps. But anyway, out of those 4, who would you select to hand the cup to the winning captain?
Oh, mate, I got to go the Cowboy. Sure.
Yes, that's absolutely Bob Cutter.
Give him some more ads. Let's get him on the show.
Perfect.
Get him some airtime.
Perfect. Yeah, give him their
Can you
own
imagine-
state.
What would his little dialogue be? Something about I don't know the ping pong, the bloody shorts, the kappa, crocodile, and the crocodile plague needs to be stopped. Is that close?
Good. All right. I can't drag this on too much longer, but we've got 6 acts. I've narrowed it down to 6.
I've already got it.
Don't say the finger.
Hang on. Can we?
Everyone's saying the finger. Come on, there's other options out there. Let's listen.
Nathan,
Yeah.
support me here. Did I not mention the finger last week and said that if Brisbane get it, Powderfinger will reform?
You did, and we might actually just try and pull that footage from.
We should find that because people say that Tom Brown's the biggest newsbreaker in the game and Eddie Maguire has been the biggest newsbreaker in previous decades. I just think you're looking at him right now, up and about podcasters. I just think that when it comes to breaking news, I brought a couple of things to the table first. Who's coaching Essendon? Is it Rutten or is it Worsfold? Next second, AFL 360 are dissecting it.
The 3 blokes in the show, Nico.
No, there has been no. I'll back him here. There has been quite a few little tidbits that Nico's brought up, and literally the next week, mainstream media's just grabbed it with both hands. So, hello, boys.
They're tuning in, aren't they?
They are.
Sorry,
They
Shane.
are.
Sorry, Shane. We've hijacked your segment.
No, you haven't. No, it's all important stuff. All right, so I've got 6 acts here. We've got Savage Garden,
Oh,
possibly a Breaker Me, Shaker Me. We've got a Conrad Searle with his lovely, gentle healing hands.
pig in a cup.
We've got a Powderfinger with possibly a passenger or something more upbeat. I don't have a whole lot of upbeat, but we'll see how we go. We've got You Ruin Me by the Veronicas.
Oh,
That's a bit of a nice one with a little that lesbian tension on the stage there. We've got
They're twin sisters, but go on.
that's what makes it appealing.
Fucking hell.
We've got Hey Geronimo by Shepherd.
Oh, yeah.
Favourites from back in the disco days. And we've got Rick Price.
Oh,
Eagles by.
yeah. He's Mount Tamborine's finest, isn't he? He's
And look, there's a couple of others. You've got your James Blundell, and there's a variety of other country singers. You got
Lee
Kate
Kent,
who's done
from
Coachella
Gold Coast.
in Eurovision.
Yeah.
Dude, no, I've got it.
The medley.
You've missed one.
Yeah.
Well, you've missed Peter Andre, but that's not who I was bringing forward.
Yes, you have.
Here is who will be a part of the grand final entertainment in some shape or another. Amy Shark, Gold Coast girl.
Yeah. More uplifting music. Yep. Perfect.
Well, who have you? Let's just cut the crap, right? Let's call it as it is. Jimmy Barnes, get him on the blower. He'll be keen. Get him there.
He's exclusive. He's every second year at the NRL. He's almost on the payroll there. So he might be tough to get. But I think can we just say, Nathan, on behalf of you and me, hats off to Shane there. That's an outstanding. Queensland has some talent at something. It's great, Shane. You've uncovered that in the music industry, Queensland have contributed. You did leave off Ricky Lee Coulter, Australian Idol's greatest ever 5th place getter.
She'll win the red carpet and she'll throw to Sophie.
Well, she's got talent in that space. She's hosted shows, so there's got to be good. You got to think cost cutting. Who's easy to get? She lives somewhere on the Gold Coast, I believe, so she can just drive up.
Mate, is it too much? I'd much prefer to see Ricky Lee host something than Sophie Monk. I said it. Am I by myself there?
I'm a fan of Ricky Lee's work. I think Sophie Monk's got a comedic edge to her, but I'm a fan of Ricky Lee's work. But But who are we going to lock in? Are we do you want us to lock someone in, Shane?
I want you to, because this has to spread like wildfire.
Powderfinger.
Right.
Yeah, I think the AFL are reaching for the stars there. Is it too hard to get international in? Like it's. I think Brisbane.
I believe so. That no
Yeah.
one's gonna do 2 weeks quarantine to play at the AFL Grand Final
Unless-
in front of 30,000 people at the Gabba.
Okay,
It's
well,
a night show. It's a night experience. There could be a laser show with George Michael Jackson.
oh Shane, jeez,
Hey, there's a lot of tribute shows going around. These things
hologram.
happen.
No. I'll join Nathan and say there'd be no more appropriate band than Powderfinger. Vulture Street, Brisbane, the reference, and there'd be no more appropriate song particularly if Brisbane are playing in the grand final. There wouldn't be a more appropriate song than Passenger to be played.
There'll be a few of them.
Climb aboard with me. Climb aboard.
Well played.
Good, Shane. Good segment.
Yeah, well done, mate. I thought there was another question. Sorry, brother. But no, that was sensational. All right, boys.
Next week, I promise.
Yeah, brilliant. We might just do an hour of that. But look, let's just give a quick little shout out. We brushed over earlier in this evening. Adelaide Crows getting their first win of 2020.
Yeah.
So,
and we said, how many episodes have we said they'd be winless? Probably a couple of times. Don't cut those ones up. We always had confidence that the Crows would get there. And well done to Matthew Nicks. It wasn't there relief. He joined the huddle after the game. It was great to see. Yeah, it would have been terrible sitting on a duck egg, wouldn't it, going into the unknown pre-season ahead. So well done to Matty Nicks. Well done to the Adelaide Football Club and Hawthorn. Wow.
It's dark. It's dark for them.
That's
the winningest coach versus the duck egg coach, and they got toasted. They were smacked.
Yeah. I've said do yourself a favour a number of times, stolen off Molly, but Gil McLaughlin gave a drive-by to Clarko today in terms of Clarko whinging about something, and Gil said, was he whinging about that during last night's game? Just sort of signalling that Clarko's a legend in his own right, but if you're telling jokes about, a little bit awkward.
Might be on the nose a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, probably a little bit.
Yeah.
fair enough. Mate, where do we put? We'll briefly touch on it. Give us the team, the top 4 teams back end of the season. Who you got the going the deepest, I guess, into the season this year? Shane, we'll start with you.
Good.
Yep. I'll go Richmond, Brisbane, Geelong, and the floater is West Coast. West Coast, they can't win over here. I watched them live last night. They tried to keep Essendon involved. They're not. They lack the killer instinct over here, but there's too much quality on that field, particularly when you get Kennedy and Cripps back down on that forward line. There's too much quality. So I think they are the teams that will fight out the prelims.
Yeah, I did this earlier this evening, Nathan. I actually did the ladder predictor. I got Port Adelaide, Brisbane. I got 5 teams in my top 4. Port Adelaide, Brisbane, West Coast, Richmond, Geelong, your top 5. And I've got Collingwood 9th. I've got Collingwood not playing finals. So don't get excited about beating Carlton. Collingwood have Brisbane, and yes, full disclosure, Collingwood, whatever, but everyone wants to talk about us. Port Adelaide, Brisbane, and Gold Coast to come for the Pies would need to win at least one of those and have results go away. Win 2 and it's probably there. Win 1 and results go our way. But you might pencil Gold Coast in, but Port Adelaide and Brisbane, very difficult assignments.
What would happen if Collingwood lose to Gold Coast?
What would is this a you and me thing?
No. We'll get to that next year.
What would happen? It would probably give narrative to about 27 football shows that keep talking about the same thing every week. And I do want to say kudos to the great Nathan Buckley. He's just a superstar. He just handles himself better than any other coach in the competition in terms of the way that he relates to his players and talks and things. And it's just so boring seeing people on social media jump on about the no premiership side of things. I'll jump right off if Gold Coast beat us. But hey, Gold Coast, they were dwindling and then they bounce back against the Kangas. So who knows, Nathan? But Collingwood should beat the Gold Coast. What do you think? You be confident of being competitive against the Pies?
I think you've got to be confident in being competitive, even if they're only competitive for 3 quarters. If Collingwood blaze away in the last, and that's okay, as long as the boys have a dip. You know, you don't mind seeing your team when they're up and coming and developing. If they just show a bit of heart and a bit of character, if they're genuinely outclassed, you don't mind seeing that as long as they're having a dip for 4 quarters. If fitness comes into play, that's understandable. But at this stage of the year, it shouldn't. I would argue. But mate, my top 4, I've got Brisbane Lions won't make the grand final as much as I would love to see Brisbane win the grand final. But I don't think they will make the grand final. I don't think West Coast will be 4th. I believe, mate, I reckon Saints are a little smoky to be 4th.
Oh, then it's possible. Yeah, it is.
We've got West Coast and we've got GWS and Hawthorn, so it'll be heavy lifting. But
yeah,
you saying that's say it again, Shane. Who's to come? GWS, who have played 1 good game in 5 weeks, you'll beat them. Hawthorn, you'll beat them. West Coast
this week.
You're playing West Coast in Queensland. If St Kilda don't win those 3,
I immediately.
We're plateauing in a big way. We lost to Melbourne in the beautiful centre of the earth. So I'm not confident. We're not playing as bright and bubbly as we were. I'm hopeful. I'm confident, but we're just wobbling at the moment.
That's fine. I immediately retract St Kilda. I'm going to replace them with Port Adelaide. You brought this upon yourself. So Port Adelaide, Brisbane Lions.
You still think Geelong will win it though, Nathan? Like you're being big on Geelong all year. You've been big on Geelong for a couple of years.
I have been. It'll be Geelong Richmond in the grand final, and I hope that Geelong beat Richmond. But it'll be a good game. It'll be close.
It will be.
So anyway, let's get into the tips. So we've done blind betting. We thought we'd trial something different this season and just go in blind. That's not the truth at all. I just haven't kept track of it. So we'll go back and view where we're at. But we've got Sydney versus Melbourne, gentlemen. That's it in Queensland, Casale Stadium, Thursday. Shane, mate, who you got? Swans versus the D's.
I think the D's are rolling. They're playing well. Petrarca is playing particularly good footy. He's getting all the bounces and he's just a dominant force. So Demons up in sunny Cairns. Hello to Gilligan's.
Nick?
Not going to elaborate. Melbourne.
Ditto. Nick, GWS versus Carlton. Metricon.
Well, which Giants will rock up? They're just really fickle. And Carlton sort of fell by the wayside last week against Collingwood. Oh, you'd lean towards GWS. Could be a rip of this. GWS just.
Shane?
Carlton just for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you there, Shane. I think the Blues will get this one done. Lions versus Collingwood. Anyone going Collingwood?
No.
Are you going to watch it, Nico?
Well, I'm not going to the Gabba, Shane, because if you haven't seen, there's a bit of a situation in Queensland escalating called COVID-19. So if you can follow what the government's saying, and that is don't leave yet. I don't know what the government's saying, but no, I'm not going. Yeah.
Nico?
Did you wear that? Did you wear that to the Gabba last night?
No.
Yeah. See, yeah, I and Nathan knows this. Some of our listeners, it's just not a good experience. Me at the Gabba, it's just not. It's just not.
COVID's an excuse.
I'll be watching it. I'll be watching it from home.
That's Nick just giving back to the community there and not exposing them to that one. So, Nick, North Melbourne v Port Adelaide. Surely.
Yeah, this will be Saturday night on the Gold Coast, and Port Adelaide. Yeah, North Melbourne were horrendous last week. Gold Coast could have won by a whole lot more. Yeah,
I'm disappointed they didn't. To be honest with you, I thought there was.
Do you think that Reece Shaw would be happy that COVID has hit? Because it's really, pardon the pun, masked what's happening at that football club. It is diabolical. And Jared Polak, $1 million a year player, played for the Collingwood reserves the other day in the oddness of how players get shared around. Remember under 10, Shane, or you didn't play football till a later age, but you used to share your players with the opposition when they were short.
Yeah.
Did you share your best players, or did you just do the old, oh, mate, you go there? Jared
No,
Pollock.
particularly, not necessarily the talented ones, but probably the players didn't really like.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
so Pollock playing for the Collingwood twos, but yeah, Port.
Port by tons.
Yeah, I think we're all going Port with that one. Shana, mate, talk us to this one. St Kilda versus Hawthorn. More importantly,
I'm hopeful.
yeah, you have to win. How much are you beating them by? Surely.
We're winning by 15 points. Hawthorn
Goals.
Hawthorn will be utterly disgusted with what they put in last night. They do rebound. They're a professional outfit. They'll come out. They'll be physical, and I'm confident that we'll win, but I'd love to be more confident.
All right, Nick.
Saints.
Yeah. Either of you boys got Essendon beating Geelong at all?
No.
Nope.
Cool. Western Bulldogs versus West Coast Eagles. Now this one could be a cracker. Could be.
The Dogs are so good to watch when they're at their best. And I would love to see them beat West Coast because it's just hilarious that West Coast are are going to appear to be, if things pan out the way you hope, a one-trick pony, and their premier has cost them a flag.
Fair point.
Well, seriously.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's fair. It's fair. If they had any level of commercialness, that's not a word, but if the WA government was being somewhat reasonable about it, they've got hotels, they've got hubs, they've got airplanes. It's quite insane. But I think they'll sneak over. The West Coast Eagles will sneak past the Doggies.
Nick, who did you tip with that one, mate? Sorry.
I think the money would be with West Coast, but you're really hoping the Doggies present well.
I'm going to. You haven't given me a tip though. Who you tipping? West Coast.
Well, you put a W down, haven't you?
I have. Yeah.
No, I'll tip the Dogs.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to tip the Dogs, mate. Shout out Nate, Dog Brother. I hope they do it for you. They are an interesting side. I would hate to barrack for them. So Melbourne versus Freo. Again, this has got a little bit of potential. I'm going Melbourne.
It's got potential, all right. For the live viewers, Fremantle are a kicker behind the Tigers at 3/4 time tonight. So if they put in that sort of effort against Melbourne, they'll beat them. But I've said it all year. He's the coach of the year, Justin Longmuir, the way that he's got this side playing. But again, it's more of a reflection on how Ross Lyon had them playing. So Melbourne should win.
Shana.
D's a little bit of a shout out to done it twice already. Gilligan's, their Midori Illusions were on special on Monday evening. $9. Go there, have a swim, and feel. Yeah,
because the game's at Kazali's. I'm with you now.
Kazali, what a place.
Up there. It's up there.
Yes.
Well done. So that was the D's, yeah?
Yep.
Cool. Shane, can Adelaide get their second win against GWS?
They can. Absolutely.
Will they? Will they?
I'm on them. Yeah, they are. They seem to be at full strength. I think there's the Crouch boys seem to be running around a little bit more bigger. Talia's back. Texas found a meter. They'll be cock a hoop after last night's performance, and they will beat Greater Western Sydney.
Okay. I disagree. Nick, where are you putting your tip?
I disagree too, Nathan. GWS will beat Adelaide.
I think comfortably. But Carlton versus Sydney, Nico.
Oh, the Blues. That's on the coast. That's another Tuesday night special. They're cramming. I mean, this is a frenzy too. We mentioned that. It's frenzy number 2. Carlton to beat Sydney. And will we see Buddy again? Not this year, I know. But is anyone?
We will. We 100% will see Buddy again. He will show up in the media somewhere, and he will be on all our screens, but he will not be seen on a football field.
Yeah, I just got one of those feelings that just distance makes the heart grow fonder for some, but I'm not sure Buddy's heart is in footy. So might yeah. Anyway, that's a side dish.
I'm a big fan of Buddy. I like him as a bloke. I like what he's done for footy. I wish him all the best. I think he'll be successful in any sort of business venture he puts his hand in. But I just don't see him playing footy. But Shane, who's going to win, mate? Carlton versus Sydney.
Blues. Blues will win.
All right. And last match. This is an interesting one. I got hit up to go to this game.
But we'll be on air, Nathan.
I know. So I of course said, unfortunately, sorry, Jake, no. So, but I would love to see this one, Lions versus Suns. I think the Lions actually shit. I'll let you boys tip. Shane.
Lions will win.
Nick.
Every time I watch a Q clash, there's only one team that I think of, and it's the team that Josh Fraser dominated for in the 2011 and 2012 period. Go the Suns. Yeah,
look, I'm going to have to tip the Suns. That's through loyalty, not head, heart. There it is. But that about wraps us up with the tipping there, boys. So really, really interesting. Shane, you touched on it. The second footy fiesta. So exciting times. Apologies to all the partners, wives, girlfriends. You won't see us for a little while. But gentlemen, it's been another cracker. Let's bring in the short pass. Shane, where would you like to put your short pass in this coming 7 days?
I'm saying that we have got 7 weeks, and I think there will be a revelation before the end of this week that Adelaide is an absolute chance to still host the grand final, depending on how the circumstances roll here in Southeast Queensland. 7 weeks is a long time. I don't think we're doing as well as people say we are. So I'm going to say that Adelaide is going to get more and more bullish around their opportunity to host the big dance.
I like it. Nick, where's your short pass going, mate?
My short pass is rugby league related this week, Nathan, and it goes to the West Tigers coach, Michael Maguire. And now Benji Marshall's one of the most skillful players to play a very boring game, a game that doesn't require much skill, but he makes it look attractive. And he's had a 250-game plus career, and he's given his heart and soul to the West Tigers, although he did have a stint in Super Rugby with the Auckland Blues and played for St George Illawarra and the Brisbane Broncos. But fairy tales would have it, he landed back at the West Tigers, and he found out by reading the Daily Telegraph that he was no longer required at his club next year. That is disgraceful. That is disgraceful. So my short pass is to Michael Maguire. I think you've lost your dressing room. And I did have the Tigers doing something this year, and you haven't. So, don't know a great deal about Michael Maguire. I know that he coached Souths, and I know the Melbourne Storm are flying. So they do things in a very neat, orderly fashion. So Sydney media that keep banging on about the Cameron Smith thing, how about you focus on your own backyard? And that is the disgraceful way a legend like Benji's been treated. And let the Melbourne Storm keep doing what they do, and that is absolutely dominate your landscape.
I love that. My short pass this week, I'm going to send mine out to the missus. She won't watch this, but I'll still say it anyway. She's a little gem. She's a little bit stressed at the moment, and I sometimes forget that, so I'm probably not the best to live with sometimes. But anyway, gentlemen, cheers. It's been an absolute pleasure again. Shano, thank Chris for me, mate.
That was great, wasn't it?
Sure, we'll do, mate.
Throw your feedback in, guys, too. It was great to have Paney on, and anyone listening who's doing it tough, reach out, touch base.
Amen. See you next week.